Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Sabbath class, the 18th of March, 2023. We'll be dealing with the restoration of worship in the land of Israel. That process, how it takes place. Okay, we're gonna. I want everybody to know that you can go to our YouTube channel and to Prophets of Awakening and check out our videos. The videos that are given have a lot of information, and the videos will lead you and connect dots for you into the truth of the Holy Scripture. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving on the channel, on the videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to our Prophets of Awakening. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel, and we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament so-called book of remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books that was given to Moses by the Lord of hosts. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our evening Shabbat class. We're going to do our usual, which is a moment of silence, evening Sabbath prayers. We're going to read the Psalms. We've got some current events and a little need-to-know information. Then we're going to go into our Q&A and then into the topic, the restoration of worship. Okay? So this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come before thee at the closing of your Shabbat, thanking you for your mercy and your good power. We appreciate you, O Lord, and your patience and guidance in these last days. Oh Lord, we thank you for your awakening us to this great understanding of your word. Oh Lord, we see your mighty hand in the world's affairs and how you are constructing the people's deliverance. And we trust and rely upon thee. And for this cause, we honor and respect you greatly. Turn not thy face from us, but allow us in our searching of you to find you, O Lord, and to dwell with you. Peace be with you. Okay? So with that being said, we're going to read a psalm. Okay? I'm going to read Psalm 59. It's a prayer for deliverance. Okay? It says, deliver me from mine enemies, O my God. Defend me from them that rise up against me. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity, and save me from bloody men. For lo, they lie in wait for my soul. The mighty are gathered against me for my transgressions and for my sins, O Lord. They run and prepare themselves without my fault. Awake to help me, and behold, thou therefore, O Lord God of hosts, the God of Israel, awake to visit all the heathens. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressor. Selah. They return at evening. They make a noise like a dog, and they go round about the city. Behold, they have bleached out with their mouth, swords are in their lips. For who say they do it here? But thou, O Lord, shalt laugh at them. Thou shalt have all the heathen in derision. Because of his strength will I wait upon thee. For God is my defense. The God of my mercy shall prevent me. God shall let me see my desires upon mine enemies. Slay them not, lest my people forget. Scatter them by thy power and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. For the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them even be taken into their pride, and for cursing and lying which they speak. Consume them in wrath, consume them, that they may not be, and let them know that God ruleth in Jacob unto the ends of the earth. Selah. At evening let them return, and let them make a noise like a dog, and go round about the city. Let them wander up and down for meat, and grudge if they be not satisfied. That I will sing of thy power, yea, and I will sing aloud of thy mercy in the morning, for thou hast been my defense and a refuge in the day of my trouble. Unto thee, O my strength, will I sing, for God is my defense and the God of my mercy. Okay, that was Psalms 59, prayer for deliverance. Anybody have any comments on that? Excuse me, I got a little cold. Okay. Okay, no comments on that? What's up? Shalom. Okay. We're gonna go into our current events right quick. Got some current events here.
Crisis, and this is bad. It's so bad that Thomas Massie, a representative in the U.S. House of Congress, tweeted, "Just got off a Zoom meeting with the Fed, Treasury, FDIC, House, and Senate." A Democrat senator essentially asked whether there was a program in place to censor information on social media that could lead to a run on the banks. Wow. And someone tweeted back, "I'm as anti-censorship as it gets, but spreading unfounded rumors to promote a run on a bank is one of the very few instances where the yelling fire in a crowded theater analogy actually does apply." To which Representative Thomas Massie replied, "What about yelling fire in a theater that's on fire? Yikes." It's so bad that this past Sunday, the Federal Reserve got out of bed to bail out Silicon Valley Bank. The last time the Federal Reserve got out of bed on a Sunday to do anything was during the pandemic in March 2020, when they U-turned and cut interest rates by 2% on a Sunday. It's so bad that first thing Monday morning, the very next day, President Joe Biden got out of bed to address the nation to deliver a speech that lasted from 9 a.m. to 9:05 a.m. Biden's 5-minute everything is fine narrative is completely false. His claims that no losses will be borne by the taxpayers in the Silicon Valley Bank bailout is also completely false. Increasing fees across the banking system creates a loss for taxpayers because those fees will be passed through the banks to its customers, the taxpayers, and the Treasury Exchange Stabilization Fund that backstops the BTFP bailout facility that the Federal Reserve is using to bail out Silicon Valley Bank is funded by taxpayers. The government is raising Silicon Valley Bank's employees' wages by 50% for the next 45 days to help wind down the bank. And who's paying for that? Absolutely the taxpayers. The money printers are firing up again, further diluting and devaluing the US dollar via inflation, which is legalized theft that violates the property rights of who? Absolutely the taxpayers. So this is absolutely another taxpayer bailout. And the government does not want to use the word bailout because they don't want us to know it's a bailout, to avoid pissing off voters before an election year. The U.S. government is trying to censor facts and information from U.S. citizens, and they are outright lying to U.S. citizens. Meanwhile, at the market open on Monday, the largest stock sector halting in history occurred as multiple U.S. regional banks were frozen from stock trading. Why is it so? Was this all by design? Well, the Federal Reserve, the United States government, and regulators seem to be on a mission to centralize the national banking system as much as possible by destroying small and mid-sized regional banks to force everyone to use their upcoming central bank digital currency, or CBDC. Hello, I'm Crypto Casey, and in this video, we are going to explore what the U.S. central bank is potentially trying to orchestrate to execute one of the most heinous power grabs in U.S. history. Let's hit it. Please check out our sponsors, CoinLedger, NordVPN, and Ledger. Start getting your crypto taxes sorted out with CoinLedger's cryptocurrency and in storage hardware wallets like Ledger devices. So make sure to scroll down and use the links below to access the correct and efficient dates to sever connections between the cryptocurrency market and the traditional financial system. It's called Operation Choke Point 2.0, and we explored it together in this video you can check out by clicking on the link above. And more progress was made this week, mid-March 2023. Crypto is being debanked. What it means for Bitcoin and the industry. The closure of Signature Bank by regulators on Sunday effectively shut off one of the last easy options for crypto firms to stay connected to the traditional finance system. It closely followed the collapse of crypto-friendly Silvergate Capital and Silicon Valley Bank, which catered to startups including digital asset firms. So the top 3 largest crypto banks in the US are now gone, which means no major on-ramps for fiat to the crypto industry remain in the US. Lame. But is their ultimate goal much more sinister than stifling crypto and involve bringing the traditional financial system as we know it to an end, to usher in a new Orwellian system where they have complete control over every single transaction that happens in the US and all of the money at large? It's possible. And why would they do it? Power and greed. See, a central bank, in a nutshell, is a perpetual profit-generating machine that never
Right.
sustains any losses. But
Right.
that's not enough for them anymore. They don't want us to have the ability to transact with cash or have greater access to financial assets and services via small and mid-sized banks that are more customer-centric and inclusive. They don't want us transacting on neutral financial infrastructure that no one person, corporation, government entity, or any central authority controls, like Bitcoin. What they want is for us to use money that they control and that they could program to function however they want. How could they achieve this goal? By continuing to increase interest rates to create massive systemic bank failures to cause panic and instill fear in people, all so they can pretend to swoop in and save the day. Let's break down this idea together. Here's the deal. When we deposit our money into banks, we are unknowingly giving an unsecured loan to a heavily leveraged borrower, banks, because they don't keep our cash there. They loan it out to other people or businesses, and they invest it in other assets. The most common asset being long-term U.S. Treasury bonds, which a lot of banks invested in a few years back when interest rates were zero and yield was around 1.5% profit for them. Now, with interest rates increasing aggressively at frequencies the market hasn't experienced in several decades, all of the bank's U.S. Treasury bonds are currently worth a lot less than when they originally invested. So they are sitting on massive losses. So when a lot of depositors need to withdraw a lot of money, they are forced to sell their assets at a loss. And if a large amount of withdrawals happen all at once, like what we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, they go insolvent and collapse. Bank runs are starting. Trust in banks, small and large, is deteriorating, and it will accelerate quickly due to this digital age we live in with instantaneous communication of news and events. That's why Silicon Valley Bank, one of the US's top 20 largest banks, collapsed in a mere 48 hours. And consider over the past year or so, the Federal Reserve has been preparing to launch its central bank digital currency and their FedNow payment system around May or June of 2023. Is it just a coincidence? Or are they trying to time it perfectly so it will be an easy pitch to the masses to drive faster adoption? Because as people start losing trust in keeping their money in bank accounts, the more ideal an account between them and the Federal Reserve directly sounds. And it will allow them to make near instant transactions very cheaply with their central bank digital currency. And if the Federal Reserve and the US government are successful in forcing us all to use only their FedNow central bank digital currency to transact in our country, we will no longer have hardly any control over our US dollars and effectively have no privacy, because they will have the ability to restrict your access to your money, to freeze all of your accounts if you speak out against or rival their agendas. You will have zero privacy with how you choose to spend your money. They can impose geographic spending limits. Before your paycheck hits your account, they can take out your parking tickets, child support, student loans, alimony, and any government fines, leaving you with whatever is left over, which could be nothing. Our lives, liberties, and property are in jeopardy, and we all need to do our part to spread awareness by sharing videos like this and having discussions about the topics we cover in this video, as it may be our only opportunity to build a better future for ourselves. So if you would like to learn more about the implications of the Federal Reserve successfully enforcing the use of their CBDC or central bank digital currency, check out this video by clicking on the link above. Cool. Next, let's discuss why the survival of small and medium-sized local and regional banks are so important for us and why the Federal Reserve and big banks want to buy them up, consolidate, and further centralize the U.S. financial system. Smaller banks are crucial because they offer individuals like us several benefits over big central banks, like lower fees that help us save money over time, personalized services that help us find the best solutions for our financial needs, flexible loan decision-making processes that help us get access to capital we otherwise wouldn't qualify for with bigger banks, quicker loan application processing, more competitive interest rates, less bureaucracy, better understanding of our local markets, and better support for our local economy. Also, smaller banks actually help the economy at large grow by giving small local businesses capital in a way that does not create inflation, because these types of loans create jobs, foster innovation. As technology gets better, things become cheaper over time. And it generally gives us everything we want in society without all the negatives. Here's how it works. When smaller local banks provide credit to people and businesses only for productive purposes, like lending to small businesses for business investments, implementation of new technologies, expanding the business, hiring new employees, and overall increase of productivity. It stimulates healthy growth of the local communities. And when done across the country, it stimulates healthy growth of the entire US economy and more of a capitalistic economy overall. When a country just has one central bank and maybe a few big banks, it makes it difficult for the country to thrive and flourish because a vast majority of people and businesses have significantly less access to capital, which has an extremely negative effect on the economy and GDP. And lack of...
Okay. Any comments on that? So, like I said, the bankers is behind all this. Bankers are the ones collapsing the banks. They gearing up for what they're getting ready to do. Like she's talking about the digital currency. They came in with this couple of banks. They already collapsed and putting the fear in the people and distrust in the banks. They already got rid of the digital currency. I mean the crypto, the threat that crypto was bringing, and then they behind so they keep showing you all this propaganda news about Russia and China trying to devalue the dollar when it's them. They the ones behind it. It's all like she was saying. It's all by design. She's saying in March they coming out with in May, around May and June, they coming out with the digital dollar. So you think it's a coincidence? All of a sudden they creating all this chaos around the banks and the bank runs and all that. Like I said, they're doing a slow demo job on us. Most people not understanding. And they pros at it. They're the ones created the banking system. Any comments? Okay, got one more current event.
In the last 100 years, the world has seen four major economic events: the Great Depression of 1929, the Black Monday crash of 1987, the dot-com crash of 2000, and the financial crisis of 2008. Four events that shook the global economy. Do you know what's common among them? Two things. They all started in America, and they all had serious global implications. Now, the year is 2023, and history may be repeating itself. Two American banks have collapsed. Global banking stocks have nosedived, and the crisis is spreading, and it's all linked to the United States of America. Yesterday, we told you about a third American bank on the brink. Today, it has been rescued. We're talking about the First Republic Bank. Credit ratings agencies had rated this bank as junk, but now it's got a lifeline. America's biggest bank swung into action. 11 banks injected $30 billion, $30 billion. So First Republic has got a cash booster of $30 billion. Why did 11 banks rush to save it? Essentially to save themselves. You see, this was done to contain the panic, to prevent another bank from collapsing. That would have really battered investment sentiment. So First Republic had to be rescued, and it has been. But this is not a sustainable strategy. And the crisis is far from over.
Have you heard the big news? Nutrisystem for Men is going big with bigger meals.
America for all of this. Regulators in the European Union are calling American officials incompetent. That's the word they use, incompetent. Let me show you a report. It has quotes from senior Eurozone officials. This includes former regulators and policy experts. And they're all angry about one thing: the way the mess at the Silicon Valley Bank was handled. Remember, this crisis began at Silicon Valley. Now, European regulators say the US response was a disaster. I have more quotes. And these are the terms that they've used: total and utter incompetence, very questionable, a disaster. And the last quote is scathing. From a financial stability perspective, they really killed a fly with a sledgehammer. Killed a fly with a sledgehammer, say the Europeans. What are the Europeans so angry about? The Silicon Valley Bank and how the US decided to cover all deposits. EU regulators believe this decision undermines the global regime. As of now, this criticism has not been conveyed officially, but the indictment is strong. Europe says America flouted norms and that American authorities tore up the global rule book. But it shouldn't be surprising because this is not a first. The US does it all the time. It likes to dictate and set the rules and break them when they do not suit its purpose. That's a conversation for another time. Coming back to the issue at hand, investors are still afraid. They don't know when this crisis will bottom out. The situation is unpredictable, and some experts say the US government's response is not helping.
The only part here that really makes me worry is that we know that every time the federal government gets involved with the economy, we've seen it in the housing market, we've seen it in bank bailouts, it completely blows any possible perception or risk analysis of what is or is not risky behavior completely out of the water.
And that's a genuine question. How far is the US government willing to go? Will it save every failing bank? How many more banks are in trouble? We don't have the exact number, but multiple banks could be short on cash. Last week, they borrowed about $300 billion. The US Federal Reserve gave out this money. This is America's central bank, the US Federal Reserve. And who borrowed these $300 billion? Nearly half of the amount went to two banks, Silicon Valley Bank and the Signature Bank. These are the two banks that failed last week. Now they've got $143 billion from the Federal Reserve. The money has gone into the holding companies of these banks, $143 billion. What about the rest? Which other banks have borrowed from the US Fed? We don't know yet. The US Fed did not identify the banks. Neither did it share a number, perhaps because it did not want to feed into the panic. You know, once you declare that such and such bank is in trouble and has been given a cash infusion, it sets off a chain reaction. Meanwhile, the government is trying to manage the narrative. Team Biden is sticking to its message. It insists that American banks remain strong. Yesterday.
Okay, so what we looking at? Like I said before, they got this thing called the hydrogen dialectic. You create a problem, and you know what you want to do, but you create the problem, get the people to start calling for a change and calling for the very thing that you want to change. And so we seen it happen in 2000 with the World Trade Center. They created that problem. Then we seen them in 2009. They did the same thing with what they're doing right now. They created this problem with the banks. Well, first of all, the objective is they want to introduce that digital dollar to the America, which is in return is gonna affect the whole world. They see that the petrodollar is going to the dog. They see China and Russia and all them they bringing that down. So they create this problem right here with the banks. In desperation, they create this problem right here, and now the people crying out for a solution, which is the digital dollar, which they've been behind the scenes setting up all along. But they had to make the people want it, so they created this banking problem. And like the other lady was saying, they already got plans to bring it out in June. But they created this right here for everybody to start crying out. They're taking away the trust in the banks. Nobody don't want to deal with the banks no more, so now they want to deal directly with them, with the Federal Reserve, which is these Illuminati bankers, Edomites, which that's gonna quadruple their money. They're cutting out the middleman. That's how these people work. No matter who they affect or who fall behind it, they all behind greed. Okay. Any comments? Okay. So we got some need to know information right here. Let me read this up.
East, what is called today the Middle East, was Africa. Africa is the largest continent in the world, but they won't tell you that. They will call something else because they keep reducing the continent, either by artificial dredging canals, or they'll tell you something is there, they'll pull it out. These are the plans of the supremacists in action. All these years, they know themselves. These people know themselves, and they have agenda that they keep propagating. All right. So, that being said, let's get right into it. So, that being said, let's get right into it.
This is from a book, Hebrewism of West Africa. What do you see? You see Jerusalem. Okay, we were in Jerusalem in 70 AD, and we got kicked out, and the Lord moved us. This is part of the curses to the west coast of Africa, and that's how we got sold into slavery. Not no so-called white man. Here it is that Israelite priest, okay, is carrying the tribe's signature, the breastplate. And then the breastplate has got all the jewels of the Lord. See that? Black men with Demetrium. So they lied to you. Learn truth. Peace.
Then we come to a picture which the European travelers drew of the Ashanti king. You see? And the Ashanti king had on his chest a breastplate. All right? This is the Israelite breastplate spoken of in the Bible with the 12 tribes on it and the different stones on it. Amen. They even go into detail about his dress and his head covering that the high priest would wear. None of the other people that was rowing the boats had a head covering. You see? The dude was dressed just like the high priest of the Old Testament, the Ashanti people. You see? And we can look at this and say, man, that's coincidence, but that's not coincidence. Especially when all the other facts lead us to believe, amen, that when Jerusalem fell, we didn't go to Europe, we went to Africa. And from Ghana, my friends, from that place in Ghana, is where the Gold Coast, the Ivory Coast, the Slave Coast was done. And a lot of y'all, when y'all take y'all DNA, y'all gonna come out, amen, like me and my wife from this area, Ghana, amen, from the kingdoms. Now let me read one more thing. Stephen Jacobs, a European Jewish historian, says this: Black Americans now are in a position as never before and rediscover. Somebody say rediscover. And reclaim. Say reclaim. But here it is. If they wish, a heritage which has profoundly influenced world history and mankind. What heritage is that? The Hebrew heritage of Black Africa. Come on, give God praise. Woo!
What more should one say? Because it's like a lot of persons, no matter what they say, they will forget about that. It's not true. The people that God, the Creator spoke of in the Bible, are not the Black people. They are Africans, Caucasians, and Asians coming to drop some comments of. This channel is not where you do that, sweetheart, because we don't I'm talking to my people, the chosen ones. I'm not talking to you. So when you come across and you see that it's none of your crossover move, you go where your business is being discussed, not here. So I get them coming to say, oh, that is a lie. You know, you're trying to teach people things that are wrong. Come on.
This age and time is not when you just tell people something and they just get to believe it, if it's not already rooted in their hearts. If you are a part of the people, if you're part of the chosen people, when you get to hear your message, you will understand from within that this message is directed to you. You don't need anybody to drag you, except if you want to be lost on your own. Like, if you want to be lost on your own, there's nothing that can be done. It's a decision, and that is why there is power in us. The power we think it's outside and we go to search for it. The power we go here and there. Oh, there is a miracle happening here. You see populations. Oh, there is something happening here. You see population. That power we seek, that God we seek here and there is right seated in our hearts. That devil we think with horns and a black face somewhere is right seated within us. Now, what do you work with? If you think you are so helpless and so useless that you are not spiritual, you can't do anything spiritual. And these are the things that most of these so-called men and women of God, mind you, I'm using that word, because we are all men and women of God, but these days we have turned the whole thing upside down. Oh, this is a man of God, this is a woman of God. Then you, what are you? Are you a man or woman of the devil? We are all men and women of God because we're all created in the image and likeness of God. Now, you see, most of this so-called pastor and whatever, this is what they use. They use this psychology on people. Because since you feel you can't do it, and they see that you are like that, they tell you that there's no power in you. And then they want you to see them that they possess the power. And so you see, you worship them, even when they lie to you, you worship them. When you don't want to believe, there's nothing that can be done. Like I said, because there are persons that no matter what you say, even if God comes down today as a black person and say, look at me, right? Oh, Yeshua comes today and say, I am Yeshua that through this life, I lived in this world, I felt what you feel. But the fact that that person is a black person, they won't believe that it is the Yeshua that was here on earth and we're talking about.
Okay. Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? You see, she one of those Hebrew Christians. Okay. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we had a Q&A. Anybody got any questions or comments about anything? Anything we talked about? Something you came across? Yeah, let me shine a light on this right here. It's got to do with how the Lord of Hosts works. I was showing you some of the things last night and during the week how these are signs when you understand what's going on that we at the very end. So one of them is that we saw how with the giant war in Genesis chapter 15, he turned those the 1,000 man or 10,000 man, 100 man, 1,000 giant war because it was giants all over the land of Canaan. So he caused them to turn in and fight against each other. The circumcised giants fighting against the uncircumcised. And a lot of them, he got rid of a lot of them like that way, but he also got rid of a lot of them through the flood. So let's see what's going on right now. This is one of the Lord of Hosts characteristics. He turn people in against themselves, cause them to get rid of their own self. So let's look at this right here.
A civil war in Israel. Now, I'm not saying this because the country's own president has warned about Israel now hurtling towards a civil war. Now, before we tell you more about the serious crisis that has gripped Israel, listen in to what the Israeli president had to say.
Whoever thinks that a true civil war where human life is at stake is a border we won't reach has no clue, specifically now in the 75th year of the state of Israel. The abyss is at arm's reach.
So what did the Israeli president mean? What is the Israeli president warning about? Let's try and explain. Now, Israel has been reeling with chaos for the last few days. The country has a population of about 9 million people. To put this in perspective, the population of the state of Israel is less than the population of India's national capital, New Delhi. But 5% of the entire Israeli population is out on the streets. People are protesting against the Prime Minister Netanyahu's judicial changes. These judicial changes will seriously undermine the powers of the Israeli Supreme Court. They in fact restrict the judiciary's freedom to adjudicate the actions of the executive on serious constitutional matters. What the judicial changes in fact intend to do is to overhaul the country's legal system and to turn the Israeli judiciary to be subservient to the executive arm of the government. Now, these are questions that the Israelis are asking, and these are questions for which they don't seem to be getting an answer from their prime minister. In which democracy is it okay or acceptable to turn the judiciary subservient to the executive? What happens to the principle of the separation of powers in a government? With the judiciary's back broken, who can then keep a check on executive's power? Benjamin Netanyahu, with his judicial changes, wants to do just this, to break the Israeli judiciary's back, and the Israeli people are not happy with this. They've demonstrated in and around the Ben Gurion International Airport. Protesters also tried to disrupt Netanyahu's flight to Germany. Imagine a situation where the sitting prime minister is not even able to drive to the airport in the city. Now, the people in Israel are calling Benjamin Netanyahu a dictator. Netanyahu's flight was supposed to take off at 5 p.m., but it was delayed till 10 in the night. Now, look at these visuals. Jerusalem, in fact, woke up to the sight of a long red line. The protesters painted it along the roads leading to Israel's Supreme Court. And this was after President Herzog, in fact, said that a civil war is a red line in a televised address to the nation. Now, the Israeli president wants a compromise to try and resolve this conflict around the judicial changes. He's also unveiled some alternative changes to the judiciary, but Netanyahu has stuck to his guns. He's turned down this compromise. He said that the coalition representatives will not agree with the president's proposal. So what else were the Israelis expecting? Now, the country hasn't had a functioning government in the last 4 years. Netanyahu has been Israel's premier for a total of 15 years. He's made a dramatic comeback just last December. He's been in office for over 3 months now, but the country's political crisis is just getting worse. The centrist parties, remember, refused to serve with Netanyahu. He's also facing serious allegations of corruption. Now, Netanyahu was able to form a government, a coalition government, only by allying himself with the far-right religious parties of his nation. This is the most far-right wing government that the state of Israel has seen. The people voted for it when they chose Netanyahu, but the decision has, of course, come back to bite them. The administration is hammering the democratic institutions. The legal system in the state of Israel is presently under threat. The Israelis have caught their prime minister's bluff. Hundreds and thousands of them are taking to the streets.
So what we're looking at is it's falling apart. They're turning in against each other. We see that all over the place. Chaos in these countries, especially in the European countries. We see what's going on with NATO, which is Europeans in the West, and Russia. All this happening all over the place. We're turning all of them in against each other. So you're supposed to be expecting any day, at any time, all hell gonna break loose. It's all pertaining to our deliverance. Any comments? Everybody good? Okay, I'm gonna read out of the topic for the evening Sabbath class was the restoration of worship, right? How it's supposed to take place when we have a part of the situation that's going to take place when we go back. First thing that has to happen is the Lord of hosts and Yahweh and the angels, they require worship. So the worship got to be restored, same way that Zerubbabel did when they came back from Babylon after the 70 years. The first thing they did, let me read that. The first thing they did was they had to restore the worship. And they went to the Temple Mount, and then they built the altar, and then they restored the worship. So let's look at that right quick. Okay. Okay, says in a minute. Yeah, say here we go right here. It says here we go. Okay. Yeah, here you go. So I'm in First Samuel in Apocrypha, chapter 5, starting at verse 47. Say when the 7th month came, and the Israelites were all in their own homes, they gathered with a single purpose in the square before the first gate toward the east. Then Joshua, the son of Jozadak, with his fellow priests. So we know Zerubbabel is out of David lineage, but Joshua is out of Aaron's lineage. He's the high priest. These are two people that the Lord of hosts brought to the light right before they left Babylon. So he says, when the 7th month came and the Israelites were all in their own homes, they gathered with a single purpose in the square before the first gate toward the east. Then Joshua, son of Jozadak, with his fellow priests, and Zerubbabel, son of Sethel, with his kinsmen, took their places and prepared the altar of the God of Israel to offer burnt offerings upon it in accordance with the directions in the book of Moses, the man of God. And some joined them from their other people of the land, and they erected an altar in this place. For all the people of the land were hostile to them and were stronger than they, and they offered sacrifices at the proper time and burnt offerings to the Lord morning and evening. And they kept the festival of the booths as it is commanded in the law, and offered the proper sacrifices every day, and thereafter the regular offerings, sacrifices on the Sabbath, and the new moons, and all the consecrated feasts. And all who had made any vow to God began to offer sacrifices to God from the new moon to the 7th month, though the temple of God was not yet built. They gave money to the masons and to the carpenters, and the food and the drink and the carts to be to the Zionians and the Tyrians to bring cedar logs from Lebanon and convey them in rafts to the harbor of Joppa, according to the decree that they had in the writings from King Cyrus of Persia. So we see right here, this exact same thing happened when Solomon built the temple. Solomon did the exact same thing. They had the Tyrians, which was a lion. Okay, they was a lion to David. They was a lion to Israel because of David. David had made alliance with them. So David had already made all those preparations before he passed, before he gave the kingdom over to Solomon. So we see right here what Zerubbabel is doing is the same thing that Solomon did, but right before he built his temple. So we're gonna read. I'm gonna read. That was out of Second Ezra in the Apocrypha. So I'm gonna read out of Ezra in King James. Same person, just spelled different. So I'm in Ezra out of King James chapter 3. This is the restoration of worship. And when the 7th month was come and the children of Israel were in their cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem. So what is he talking about? They gathered together as one man. That's what I was saying. When you understand this right here, you understand who that is in Isaiah 53. Because he keeps saying him because of the 12 tribes came, the 12 sons came from Jacob. So he's saying him. That's why he's saying him. And it's all through the scriptures, even in Jeremiah chapter 30. He's saying him because he see Israel as one man. He looked down, he see Jacob. Okay? So that's why he's saying the son. I call my son out of Egypt. It's one man, it's Jacob. Right? So then stood up Joshua, the son of Jadak, and his brethren, the priest, and Zerubbabel, the son of Sethel, and his brethren, and they built the altar of God of Israel, offered burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. So notice that we was reading in the Apocrypha, it's chaos going all around them. It's chaos everywhere trying to stop them from building it. As a matter of fact, that's what we were just reading in Psalms when David was saying that these wicked spirits come every evening and come to Israel like dogs, because they're constantly trying to bring Israel to an end. It finally happened in 143 BC with Antiochus, but they're constantly trying to usurp Israel. And so we see right here, they got together the priest, the priest and his lineage, and Zerubbabel and his lineage, like David. They got together and built this altar, but it's chaos going on, just like we're looking at right now. So he says, verse 3, and they set up the altar upon the basis, for fear was upon them. Look at this, because of the people of the countries. See that they offer burnt offerings thereon unto the Lord, even burnt offerings in morning and evening. And they kept also the feast of the tabernacle, as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offerings by number, according to the custom, as the duty of every day required. So this verse 4, it brings me back to something I was talking about. So he says, they kept also the feast of the tabernacle, as it is written, right? And they offered the daily burnt offerings by number. So he said, as it's written. So I was telling you how they got people that trying to keep the Passover. Notice they weren't keeping the Passover in Jerusalem. I mean in Babylon. It's when they got back, right here. They're doing the feast days and they rededicated the temple. But he said, as it is written. So when they left, he told them before they left Egypt to kill the lamb and put his blood of the lamb. When you kill the lamb, put his blood on the doorpost. So these Negroes putting red ribbons on the door, symbolizing the lamb's blood. When it all tell you right there, if you don't have access to no lamb, then he must not want you to keep it. So anyway, it says they kept also the feast of the tabernacle as it is written. That's because they back in the land. They got their flocks and their herds. They got the books. They got the scriptures. They got everything. So they keep it. So he says, and afterwards offered the continual burnt offerings, both for the new moon and of the set feast of the Lord that were consecrated, and everyone that willingly offered a free will offering unto the Lord. From the first day of the 7th month began they to offer burnt offerings unto the Lord. But the foundation of the temple of the Lord was not yet laid. They gave money also unto the masons and to the carpenters, and meat and drink and oil unto the Zidonians, and to them of Tyre, to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to the sea of Joppa, according to the grant that they had Cyrus, king of Persia, the god of okay, saying now in the 2nd year of them coming into the house of God, at Jerusalem in the 2nd month begins Zerubbabel the son of Sethur, and Joshua the son of Jozadak, and the remnant of their brethren, the priests and the Levites, and all they that were come out of the captivity unto Jerusalem, and appointed the Levites from 20 years old and upward to set forward the work of the house of the Lord. Then stood Joshua with his sons and his brethren, Kiminel and his sons, the sons of Judah, together to set forward the work, the workmen in the house of God, the sons of Henadad, with their sons and their brethren, the Levites. And when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, they set the priests in their apparel, with their trumpets, and with their Levites, the sons of Asaph, with their cymbals, and praised the Lord. Look at this, after the ordinance of David, king of Israel. So let's look at that. Verse 10, this Ezra chapter 3, verse 10. And when the builders laid the foundations, after the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, they set the priests. See that? It's the priests and the Levites. They set the priests in their apparel with their trumpets, right? So what that tell me? Let's go to Isaiah. They want to know who the suffering servant is, right? Let's look at 52. Isaiah 52. Okay. 13 through 15. Right? Here we go. This coming up to Isaiah 53, which is the suffering servant. They want you to think it's JC. So in Isaiah 52, first of all, 52 verse, the title of the chapter is "The Lord will deliver Zion from captivity." So we see what they're doing when they came out of Babylon. What they did, they came, the Levites, David's seed came, and they built the altar, and they assembled together, and they built the altar and made the sacrifices. Then the Levites and David's seed and the people that helped them, the workmen, laid the foundation. So we see right here in Isaiah 52, they come out of captivity, right? Then he says, awake, verse 1, awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments. See that? Beautiful garments. That's what they're doing over here in Ezra. They're putting on their garments. They put the priests in their apparel, right? And it says, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for hence there shall no more come unto thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. So now let's go to 52 and 13. Behold, we're looking for the servant. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. As many were astonished at his vestige, his apparel, his garments. See that? Vestige was so marred, more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So it's a group of men. Then verse 15. So shall he sprinkle many nations. That's the Israelites. They didn't want to do the sprinkling in the temple. They didn't want to slaughter the animals, drain the blood. Then they have to sprinkle some of the blood on the people. So it says, so shall he sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him, for that which had not been told them shall they see. That which they had not heard shall they consider. So what are you talking about? We've been told JC going. They waiting on JC to come back. But when they see this right here, the Levites going to be standing there, sprinkling the people. So it says, for so shall he sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him, right? Him, for that which they had, which had not been told them. This ain't been told; it's been taken out. Scripture's been hoodwinked. They told them, so shall he see, and that which they had heard shall they consider. Now you got to consider it. But like I said before, that's on each and every man. You can consider it, let it roll off like water on a duck back, whatever you want to do. So anyway, I'm back over here in Ezra chapter 3. I read verse 9, I'm in verse 10. And when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, they set the priests in their apparel with their trumpets, and the Levites, the sons of Asaph, with their cymbals, to praise the Lord, after the ordinance of David, the king of Israel. And they sang together by course in praising and giving thanks unto the Lord, because he is good, for his mercy endureth forever toward Israel. And all the people shouted with a great shout. And when they praised the Lord, because of the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid, but many of the priests and the Levites and the chief of the fathers, who were ancient men that had seen the first house, when the foundation of this house was laid before their eyes, wept with a loud voice, and many shouted aloud for joy, so that the people could not discern the noise of the shouts of joy from the noise of the weeping of the people. For the people shouted with a loud shout, and the noise was heard afar off. So let's look at what we dealt with this morning and see if this don't line up. So we saw that when I was doing the comparison and lining up Isaiah and the time that he existed, and how that his life interacted and mingled with Josiah. But we know that he was also alive during the time of Hezekiah. And Isaiah informed Hezekiah that the Most High gave him a dream that Manasseh, his son, was going to kill him, was going to murder him. So Manasseh went on a rampage and eventually ended up killing Isaiah, right? Well, all these minor prophets left Israel, was hiding up in the mountains, right? So that means this before Nebuchadnezzar came. So that's Solomon temple. So then they went to Babylon for 70 years and they came back. We see those same prophets came back. So let's look at it right here. Verse 12. Ezra chapter 3, verse 12. Where I'm starting at 11. And they sang together by the course in praising and giving thanks unto the Lord, because he is good, for his mercy endureth forever toward Israel. And all the people shouted with a great shout, right? All the people shouted with a great shout. And when they praised the Lord, because of the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. Now here we go, 12. But many of the priests and the Levites and the chief of the fathers, who were ancient men that had seen the first house. See that? There they go right there. That's these minor prophets that we was just reading, that they got ducked off over here in the pseudepigrapha. So he says that had seen the first house, when the foundation of this house was laid before their eyes, wept with a loud voice, and many shouted aloud for joy. So these men here, the ancient men, they had seen the Solomon house. So that means they was there before 70 years and they came back after 70 years. They older guys. They just seen the first house. Okay. Any comments? Okay. So I'm gonna read chapter 4. Then we can close out. It's already an hour. See, the adversary seeks to stop the work. Now, when the adversary of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity built the temple of the Lord God of Israel, keep in mind, we in a captivity, we got to leave here. So it said, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your God, as you do. And we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Escalon, king of Ashur, which brought us up hither. So this the people from Samaria, that the people they brought, the king of Syria brought there in the place of the Israelites, right? So it says, but Zerubbabel and Joshua and the rest of the chiefs of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us to build a house unto our God, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord God of Israel, as King Cyrus, king of Persia, have commanded us. Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in building, and hired counselors against them and to frustrate their purpose. See that? That's what's happening now, Like I said, all this bull crap coming from all places. The 10 lost tribes, and America is Israel. That's all. That's what we see the same thing right here. And hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. And in the reign of Aorus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes, wrote Bishlam and Mithrath, Tabeel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes, king of Persia, and the writings of the latter was written in the Syrian tongue and interpreted in the Syrian tongue. Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshah, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king of, in this sort. Being wrote Rehum, the chancellor, and Shisham, the scribe, and the rest of their companions, the Denites, the Araphites, I don't know these names, okay, the Elamites, and the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Ashna brought over and set in the cities of Samaria, and the rest that are on this side of the river and on at such a time. So let's look at that. Let's look at that. This right here is big. So we see in verse 9, Ezra 4 and 9. Then wrote Rehab the chancellor and Shimshah the scribe and the rest of their companions. So who are their companions? We see right here, these are all the nations. Let's look at it. Go to 2 Chronicles, chapter 17. Hold that page. Go to 2 Chronicles, 17 right quick. This is a doozy right here. Okay. Let me see. No, it's 1 Chronicles 17. My bad. 1 Chronicles 17. Okay. 1 Chronicles chapter 17. Hold up in the world. Let me see what I'm doing. Okay, look at chapter 17. Yeah, it's in 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 17. My bad. Okay, I'm in 2 Kings chapter 17, verse starting at verse 21. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam son of Nebat king, and Jeroboam drove Israel from following the Lord. It's the 10 tribes, and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. Now here, 23. Until the Lord removed Israel, this is 10 tribes, out of his sight, as he had said, by all his servants, the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their land to Assyria until this day. Now 24, going to explain it. 24, and the king of Assyria brought men from Bethlehem, from Babylon, and from Kukut, and from Ava, from Hamath, and from Seraphim, and from the places, and placed them in the cities, right, of Israel instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. So he brought all these different nations. He took the 10 tribes out and brought these other nations in there. So let's keep going. So 25 says, and so it was at the beginning of their dwelling that they feared not the Lord. So they don't know nothing about the Lord of hosts that dwell there, that dwell at Mount Zion. They don't know nothing about him. So they're not referencing him, and they ain't got no respect for him. So it says, therefore the Lord sent lions among them to slew them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nation which thou hast removed. So these people start complaining, they leaders. The people you remove and place in the cities in Samaria know not the manner of the God. They don't know the Lord of hosts, right? Of the land. Therefore, he has sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them because they know not the manner of the God of Israel. Right? That's law, statutes, and judgment that was given to them by the Lord of hosts. They don't know that. 27. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests, whom ye brought from thence, and let him go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of Israel. So they went to Assyria and got some priests from over there, brought them back to Israel to teach these people how to live in the land. So this is how they came in contact with our law, statutes, and all that. So guess what? So from that point on, they living like Israelites, but they ain't Israelites. So guess what? The people over in Israel today, they ain't no Israelites. We know that. But what they doing? They got a campaign going that's been going for the last 20 years or so, going and getting all the Israelites in the world. Guess who they're going to get? These clowns right here. They're going to get everybody but the real Israelites. They're going to get these people here that the king of Assyria brought there. And then they didn't know how to operate. He went and got priests and taught them how to be Israelites. They're not Israelites by blood. That's who they gathered from all over the place right today. So notice what they're doing right here. These same people we just read about in 2 Kings, right? They've been in there. They've been living there. They've been there over 100 years. Samaria. They're not Israelites. So they've been there all the time. They really don't have nothing to do with the God of Israel. They only came there because these wicked ass kings from Assyria brought them there. Now, Israel coming back home, these are very people fighting against them. Look at verse 9. Ezra chapter 4, verse 9. Then wrote Rehab the chancellor and Shishak the scribe and the rest of their companions. These are people. All these people here. They ain't even Israelites. They occupying the cities and the lots, the 10 lots of the 10 tribes. They are occupying them. And now that the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi the head and came back, they fighting against them. They don't want them back. They want to keep the land. And we dealing with the same thing today because these are the same people, right? Then verse 11, Samaria and the rest are on this side of the river, and that's such as a time. 11, this is the copy of the letter that they sent. These are wicked ass folks sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king, that servant, the men on this side of the river, and such as a time. Be it known unto the king that the Jews, the Israelites, right, which came up from thee to us, are come to Jerusalem, building the rebellious and bad city, and have set up the walls thereof and joined the foundation. Be it known now unto the king that if this city be builded and the wall set up again, then will they not pay toll, tribute, and custom as such as thou shalt damage the revenue of the king. And now because we have a maintenance from the king palace, and it was not met for us to see the king's dishonor, therefore have we sent and certified the king, that a search may be made in the books of the records of thy fathers, so shalt thou find in the books of the records and know that this city, Jerusalem, is a rebellious city and hurtful unto the kings and providences, and that they have moved sedition within the same of old times, for which cause was this city destroyed. We certify the king that if this city be built again and the walls thereof set up, by this means thou shalt have no portion on this side of the river. So here we go. Now notice what's going on. This is Daniel 9:25. See the Messiah gonna get cut off, right? Here we go, right here. Then sent the king an answer unto Rehoboam the chancellor, and to Shimshak the scribe, and to the rest of their companions, right, that dwelled in Samaria, and unto the rest beyond the river, peace in such a time. The letter which ye sent unto us have been plainly read before me, and I command and search have been made, and it is found that the city of old times have made insurrections among the kings, and that rebellion and sedition have been made therein. There have been mighty kings also over Jerusalem, which have ruled over the cities beyond the river, and toll and tribute and custom was paid unto them. Give now the commandment. Here go the commandment. Give now the commandment to cause these men to cease, right? And that this city be not built until another commandment shall be given unto them. So it got cut off. Like I said, this don't have nothing to do with JC, nothing to do with the New Testament. Take heed now that ye fail not to do this. Why should damage grow to the hurt of the kings? Now, when the copy of the king Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehoboam and Shimon the scribe and their companions, they went up in haste to Jerusalem unto the Jews and made them to cease, cut them off by force and power. Then ceased the work of the house of God, which is in Jerusalem. So it ceased until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. So let's read that. And let's read that in Daniel right quick. Then we'll close out. So we in Daniel 9:25. Let's look at it. Like I said, you can't go forward. There ain't no way to go forward. So we in Daniel 9:25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem, that's where they at. We just saw the Israelites and came back, and the scribe sent all this information to the king in Babylon saying, cut them off. So it says, the princes shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, right? And the wall, even in troubled times. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. So they cut him off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city. So we see right here, this prophecy took place right here. They got cut off. Right here, not when the JC died on the cross. We got cut off right there. Zerubbabel is the Messiah. He the king that came back out of David lineage. And he got cut off right there. There's some Samaritans, the people that the king of Assyria had brought there. They didn't want the Israelites back. So they sent the letter, and then he read the letter, looked in the archives, found out it was true, and cut them off for 2 years until Darius came on the scene. And Darius sent a letter, and they started back building the temple. Any comments? Everybody good?
Yes.
Okay. No comments?
What's the? I want to ask. Did God send Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, to respond to David's prayer? Daniel's
Say
prayer.
again.
Did God send angel Gabriel to respond to Daniel's prayer?
Oh yeah, right. Daniel's prayer and the visions. That's what Gabriel's role is. That's why they ask the angel their name. When they get their name, they know what their role is. So Gabriel is the angel of understanding. So let's look at that right quick. Give you an example of that. It's in Daniel, right quick. And I think it's chapter 8. Let me read it right quick. Yeah, so it says in get my Bible. Okay. 12. 12.
16.
Let me get it right quick. I'm in the other Bible, 12:87. Okay, so I'm in chapter 8, and verse 15 says, and it came, Daniel had a vision, right? And it came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision, sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. So it's an angel that we know these angels appear as men. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uriah, which called and said to Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So Gabriel, the angel of understanding. See that?
Yes.
And then we see in chapter 9, starting at verse 20. And while I was Daniel, while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sins of the people, Israel, and presenting my supplication before the Lord, my God, for the holy mountain of my God. Yea, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me, and he talked with me, and he said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. See that? So he's the angel of understanding.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Anybody got anything else? Okay, so we're gonna say shalom, and I'll see everybody on Tuesday at here we go. I'll see everybody on Tuesday at 8 o'clock for our advanced Bible study. And the people that helped me out with the donations, I appreciate it. Okay, shalom.
Shalom.
Okay.